Since clubs cannot have credit cards, it's often convenient for an individual to pay an expense and then for the club to reimburse him. There are two ways you can do this. You can write him a club check, or you can reimburse him with units of ownership in the club. You might want to do this because it will not change the amount of cash your club has available. It also might allow you to operate without having a checking account. In addition, it may result in quicker payment of expenses if you don't have to wait for a check to clear. So first, let's talk about reimbursing a member with a check. Reimbursements sometimes get a little confusing because there's no specific reimbursement transaction. Instead, you record the expense as if it had been paid directly by the club. You might write a club check, but the check goes to the member who paid the expense rather than the group that provided whatever you're paying for. So it works this way. The club will incur the expense, the member will pay the expense, and then the treasurer will write a check to the member to reimburse him. But you don't enter this as a check. You enter it as an expense using the expense form. You just make a note of the check number in the remarks field, as well as what the expense was for. You can also reimburse a member with units of ownership in your club. Conceptually, it works like this. First, the member pays the expense. Then you record the expense. It's allocated to everyone, so it's as if each member has chipped in to pay it. You could give a member a check to reimburse him, but instead you hold the money in a temporary dummy club account, which you can name something like reimbursement or out of pocket. This money is then used to record a contribution from the member being reimbursed. It's as if you gave it to him and then he turned around and used it to make a new payment to the club. You don't actually have to give him a check, you just record the payment. Here are the actual steps you would go through to record this. First, if you don't already have one, use the Create button to create a new account on your Accounting Accounts page. Call it Reimbursements. You use a temporary account because there won't be any transactions corresponding to these in your financial account statements. Then you open the expense form using the Expense button. Record the expense as being paid from the reimbursement account. After you make this entry, you'll see there will be a negative balance in the reimbursements account. It will have a negative balance because it's an amount that has been removed from your club assets to pay the expense. Next, you record a payment for the member being reimbursed. Use the payment link next to his name on the Accounting Members screen. Record it as deposited into the reimbursements account. The amount taken out in the first transaction is used to purchase additional units in the club for the member being reimbursed. When you're done, the reimbursement account will be back to zero. The expense will be recorded and the member will be reimbursed with units of ownership in your club.